Alrighty, well, they are finally together. Although I've had them hooked up already. I've had the planter unfolded. That turned into a little bit of a fiasco. I went to do it last Monday because it was not, well, it was colder than hell out, but it was at least sunny out. Couldn't get to do anything, finally gave up. So Tuesday, I called the guy I know that's got one of these, and he said, all these little micro switches. That guy, there's one here, then there's one over there on the other post. These two up top tell you for wheel rotation, and then these two, I can't remember exactly. These are supposed to tell it. One is supposed to be for when it's in field mode, one is supposed to be for when it's in transport mode. But anyway, one or all of these is junk because I jumpered every one of them and it unfolded just fine. Well, come to find out, after doing a little bit of digging on these switches, first off, they're not weatherproof. They're not rated for this type of use, and second off, they're not even rated for the voltage that they're pushing through them. So yeah, you'll read on these planners that these switches are one of the big hiccups on them. Well, it's because the switches are not meant to do what they're doing. But Dad found some, I can't remember if they're Allen Bradleys or I can't remember what brand they are, but Dad found some micro switches that are actually rated to do what they're doing here. So we're probably gonna look at converting it and puts that way, because there's no reason right now why you can't. You can fold it and unfold it, do everything you need to do without the micro switches. It's just nice to have them just in case something stupid happens. And anyway, I guess before we get too far into the planner, because I noticed the T's doing something today. Because a bunch of guys kept asking me, well, how you know when your rings are set? How do you know when your rings are set? It won't do that. That there is called wet stacking. It's all coming off the exhaust side of the turbo. Basically, it's sucking a little bit of oil past the rings on certain cylinders. A lot of times, if your manifold gaskets are bad or your manifold's pitted or something, you'll see it leaking out of individual exhaust ports. But this has got new gaskets. The face has been milled on the sealing surface, so these should be good on this. But so it's wet stacking. It'll quit doing that when the rings seat. That's nothing to be worried about. Although I did shit a brick when I first saw it because it didn't click. It's like, why do I got oil on my frame? It's because it's wet stacking, which basically comes from idling it. But I've been idling it to warm it up because it's been cold enough. I just don't want to jump on it and take off. So, but nothing to be worried about. Just something to keep an eye on until it quits. And if it don't quit, you got issues. But it's not unheard of on a fresh engine. So anyway, back to the planner. While I got it up in the air and it's easy to get to, I want to go through and check all the bearings on the coulters and the gauge wheels and make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary there. And then we'll get it unfolded and set it down and start going over, because basically I want to have, come here, little fella. I want to have a list of parts together to get ordered this week. Why are you stuck? Oh, there's a dead wasp in there. Gonna probably, by the looks of it, need brushes, because you're not supposed to store these. You can store these things with the plates in them, but you're not supposed to tighten them down. You're supposed to leave them loose so you don't compress the brushes. Well, your cutoff brush has got some broken bristles and stuff, so it needed replaced anyhow. But yeah. So, but yeah, you're either supposed to store it with the discs out, or you're supposed to store it with the discs loose. That way you don't compress the, and which one's got the pinhole? That way you don't compress those brushes and ruin the bristles. Well, he stored it with the plates tight, so I kind of suspected that I was gonna need new brushes, which they're not too bad. Damn it. And while I got it up here, I'm going to take no-till coulters off, because some of those I did notice. Yeah, like that one right there. I don't think there's any bearings left in there. And I'm going to get them rebuilt eventually, and when I rebuild them, luckily them blades look damn near brand new. But when I get them rebuilt, we'll put them back on, just so they're on there. But I'm not going to screw with those. At this point, we're just focused on getting it to plant. The iron on this now, it looks like, although they are still touching, but it would appear they're a little wore, but for the most part, the iron on this thing really, if anything, it could use new fertilizer openers. But as long as, like, the seed openers are all that size, the seed openers got a bunch of life left in them. So anyway, well, like I say, while I got this thing up in the air, I'm gonna go through, check out all the iron, check out all the bearings, make sure we don't have any surprises there, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how it unfolds, and we'll set it on the ground and go from there. I know for a fact, when we had it unfold the other day, I think it's this lift cylinder over here on the wing leaks. Yeah, this cylinder leaks out of the tube, so that cylinder is gonna need rebuilt. One of the, was it this one or the other one? One of the cylinders for the wheel spin leaks. Looks like that one. That one's got, that's the easiest way to tell if you're, hell, that one, the tie rods are loose. No wonder. There's a little teeny tiny gap in between the barrel and the gland. That would be why that one's leaking, but you need to tear that one apart and fix it. So I know I got at least 2 cylinders. As far as I know, they're not rephasing. Yeah, they're definitely not rephasing. They don't have enough. I don't think they're rephasing. Are they rephasing? Well, I got it unfolded. We'll have to, because if they're, or I guess I could just look in the parts book and see if they're all the same part number. Because if they're not rephasing, I'll just get, when I get the kit for the, because I'll pull the other one off, tear it apart, get all the seals out of it, get a kit together, and when I do that, if this is the same cylinder, we'll get the shit for this one. And then the other thing I noticed when I had it unfolded the other day is I'm pretty sure I got some pieces missing, because I don't think, well, I know for a fact there's not supposed to be a gap between your seed tube and your unit bottom. And according to the parts book, there's supposed to be a little piece in there called a seed tube extension, and it doesn't seem to be there. And I also noticed that not all the gauge wheels on this thing match. This tire's got a profile in it. That one's flat. That one's, see, these ones are like that. That one's flat. That one's flat, 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 flat. Maybe it's just those two that are different. That one's flat, 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 flat. Okay, yeah, it's just those two that are different. I guess we'll have to Probably not worry probably not worry about it too much this year, but next year we'll look at putting different rubber on that to make them all match. So anyway, I'm gonna go through this thing real quick and check all the bearings and whatnot, and we'll come back. We'll come back and you can see how it unfolds. All right, so far I got a little bit of a list. I got one closing wheel that's broke. Looks like it must have got water in it or something and froze at some point. It like cracked one of the plastic halves. So I need to get one of those. I got two closing wheel bearings that are getting tight, or are tight. One was locked up, I broke it loose. I got one gauge wheel bearing that's just about locked up. I got 6 fertilizer openers that are bad. 2 of them are locked up. 4 of them the bearings are non-existent. So at that point, I might as well put all new fertilizer openers on it, which these are 13. It's got 13.5s on the fertilizer, and I think the seed openers are 15s. It seems like my buddy Matt told me that Shoop is out of the 13.5, so I'm gonna have to play that one by ear. All the fertilizer scrapers are missing, but that's no big deal. Those things are cheap, so I'll get those. I need to get new main lift tires for it because those are getting rough. That seed extension chute. New hoses for the squeeze pump. I got one marker arm coulter that the bearing's out. Brushes for the meters and the fertilizer hose retainers that go on the back of the openers. I got some of those that are rusted out. There. These fellers here. That one, or these two, and those two are, the bearings are bad, and these two are locked up. And that one's actually loose in the frame. I'm trying to figure out how these fertilizer, oh, that's a bolt that you probably can't get in and out without taking the coulters off. But I guess if I'm doing all 16 coulters, it doesn't really matter. They all got to come off anyway. But anyway, we're ready to unfold it. So I already got it off the transport locks. It's these guys here. And I guess since I'm gonna be setting it down, and I know that these hoses leak, we're gonna put the or these cylinders leak, sorry, not the hoses. Hold on, I'm gonna put the cylinder stops on it. All right, I got the wing stops on, or the cylinder stops on the wings, so it should stay up, because this cylinder leaks bad enough it'll actually drift down rather quickly. Got my main hoses hooked up. I actually figured out the other day when I had it hooked up, these things are supposed to have like locks on them to lock the halves together. Well, those are missing on both the monitor plug and the fold box plug, so that's neat. I have to take care of that at some point. And I got 6 hydraulic hoses to redo. 2 for the pump and 2 for the marker arms. The marker arms actually need new Pioneer couplers because one of them's got a flat spot in the ball and it leaks like a sieve. And then these guys, which all these hoses are also too damn long. But I want to set the pump on today too and get the bracket situated. So anyhow, yeah, we're gonna unfold it. Brake must have got a little rusty while this thing was sitting. So we'll turn the wheels first. You guys can't really see that, but turn the fold box on, huh? Switches come into play, because if they work right, that should automatically stop when it reaches the right level. But now you got to watch when the wings sit down and you stop when the tires touch the ground, basically. All right, now I got to get my turnbuckle off the wing. WD-40. Now you put the tractor in low gear. And you kind of pull forward while it's unfolding. I got to make some spacers for my sway block so that the hitch stays centered on the tractor. And then when it unfolds, you got this little single acting cylinder here that when you put it back into fold mode, that cylinder pushes out, and this is your lock plate that pushes off that trunnion. And obviously when you're unfolding into work mode, it's just spring loaded and it pops up over that trunnion, and that's what locks your planer bar rigid. And I looked in the manual, and it does not appear that these are rephasing cylinders. It looks like they're all identical. Well, obviously the main lifts are bigger, but the two main lifts look to be identical, and the two wing lifts look to be identical. So get a kit for one, should be able to get a kit for, like, get a kit for that wing, should be able to get a kit, you know, to a pair of them, so we can keep or rebuild both cylinders or whatever we got time to get done. And then same deal, these both the rotation cylinders are identical, so get a kit for that one, should be able to get a kit for the other one, and either have the shit on hand or get them both rebuilt, whatever we end up having time for. But that one definitely needs rebuilt. Or is it this one? Yeah, that one looks like it's been weeping, but that's the one that's soaked, or that's the one that's wet, so that's the one that definitely needs done. So anywho, And is it... That bearing's growly, but I should be able to put... I don't know, I have to see how much it complete. Because you replace one, because Shoop's got the notched coulters. And the coulter assembly, a bearing, and a new cast hub, the whole 9 yards is $75 minus the depth band, which the depth band is fine. But that one's a notched and it's worn. And this one's a smooth and the bearing is out. Or going out. I'd consider that out. Yeah, the other one's missing the trash guard too. But anyway, oh, and this one's missing the bearing cap. That's probably why the bearing went out. Oh, this is a lighter duty one too. That's a stamped steel hub, not a cast hub. So I'm probably just gonna get 2 new marker arm coulters so that they match. I mean, I paid $4 grand for the planter. I got room to throw a little bit of money at it. But you guys didn't get the overall view. It looks pretty damn badass behind the tractor, not gonna lie. I mean, even expensive it is as it's going to be to plant corn this year, I'm kind of excited to go plant some corn with this rig. And just picture it with straddle duals on it and like half a rack of suitcase weight. Because I shouldn't really, I mean, the book says, and granted your weight's going to change a little bit when you fill the tanks, but for the most part your weight is centered over the toolbar, so you're not going to transfer a whole lot of weight to the tractor. But the book says run a full rack of weights, but the front tires are still squatting, so I don't think I need to run that many weights, which is good because the lighter you can keep the tractor the better, because it's a planting tractor, you don't want them heavy. But I got a plumb. It would appear, the way these fertilizer tanks are plumbed up, that they never had it set up for a central fill location. They must have just been going through the lids. Because this is your tank hose. And it goes around through the pivot. That guy there. And then it tees off into the manifold for the squeeze pump. Which I gotta get some. Oh, that's leaking. Have to clean that manifold up and I'm gonna put all new tubes. Although, shoot, those look damn near new. The clamps aren't even rusted yet. Maybe I'll just get a few to have for spares. But those squeeze tubes look damn near new. They're still soft. Maybe I don't need to replace those. Maybe let's get a couple for some spares. Ooh. I'm gonna need to. I wonder if you can get these pieces, because those are a little crusty. So I don't know what parts available. I haven't looked to see what parts availability is. Well, I know Shoop only, for these John Blue pumps, Shoop only carries that, or the squeeze hoses. I don't know if I can get these anywhere else, or get parts for this thing anywhere else, because it's definitely going to need these retainer plates with the little nubbins for connecting hoses. It appears I'm going to need some fertilizer hoses, which I don't know why the hell they ran a couple of these up through the pivot. You got, oh, okay, yeah, I know, because that side's feeding. Okay. It would almost be nice to have two 4-row squeeze pumps and have one over here and one over there, so you don't got to run all these hoses through the pivot. But anyhow, like I say, today we're not really looking to get much done other than apparently the air box has got some leaks. Main hoses feel good. Or airbox had some leaks, I should say. They kind of patched them up, but that might be worth taking apart and seeing if we can do a little better job. Here. The other thing that I'm gonna have to put a little schlickum on this guy, because this is your when you fold up, that closes and that locks off your hydraulic flow to your marker arm, so that you can't unfold the planter, or not, so that you can't run the marker arms while the planter's folded up and knock yourself in the back of the head or take the back glass out of your cab. And it's a little sticky. So that's gonna need some slickum. And what we were looking at doing, and the big thing is gonna be oh shit, I should have measured it when we were folded up, but there should be enough room. But the thing we were looking at, because by the time this is all said and done, these outer row units are going to be moved in another foot, because you're set on 36 inches now, so your center row units are going to have to move in 3 inches aside, and then these row units will have to move 6, these row units will have to move 9, these row units have to move a foot. And then obviously the wheels will have to move wherever they need to land, and the transmission will have to slide down, and yada yada yada. But you'll end up with, you probably got what, 14 inches of toolbar sticking out here, plus another foot. So what we're looking at doing is cutting the end plate off the toolbar, shortening the toolbar, welding the end plate back on to get rid of all the overhang. But it's going to depend on where or how much room you have to lose, because when it's folded up, you still need to be able to get your turnbuckle on, and the fan mount is gonna determine what you got room to lose. But if you're here, by the time you get folded up, I mean, I have to measure it when I get folded up and see where everything lands as far as the fan mount. But first glance, looks like we'd have enough room to do it. Because can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but at least according to the book, they never actually offered this planter in an 8-row narrow. It was an 8-row wide frame only, and I don't know if they did that, but you could buy a 6100 in an 8-row rigid. So I don't know if you bought an 8-row 6000 series narrow row, you just went down to a rigid toolbar, or what. But either way, I know that you can narrow this toolbar down to narrow rows, because on Tractor House not too long ago, there was a 10-row, which was an 8-row toolbar. And basically, if you slide all your row units in enough, you got enough toolbar sticking out here to add whole another row unit on 30-inch rows to, plant 10 rows, which is kind of odd, but whatever you got to do. Because everything just slides down the toolbar, so there's really no reason. But the only thing I can come up with is they figure if you got a 6008 row narrow, you got a rigid toolbar. Because that's what the book, you look under a 6000 parts book, you have an 8-row wide front fold, and then the 8-row narrow is a rigid frame. So, but there's enough room. And what we'll have to do, which this one's already like this, but basically when they made these things narrow row, or well, not even narrow row, when they made these things or put these things together, if they had a spot like this, you can't get a U-bolt here because the reinforcement plates are too tall. they would weld the angle irons for the row unit right to the frame. So basically, anywhere, if we do end up sliding these things down and we have a spot where we can't get a U-bolt, you just weld the angle iron to the frame. They did it on the 16 rows too. The guy I talked to about that told me about the limit switches, his 16 row is obviously narrow row. The center pin basically looks exactly the same. It's just beefed up for the 16 row frame. But both of his center row units, this center angle iron is welded because you ain't got enough room, obviously, for the U-bolt. But everything measures out, and you know, should be good. So anyhow, I'm gonna give this thing another look over, and then we might, or give the row units a look over now that I got them sitting down so I can see in the top and whatnot. Check chains and stuff like that, see if we need any parts there, and then probably go ahead and pull them no-till coulters off. We might do some no Studebaker. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, pull the no-till coulters off, and we might do some hydraulic hoses and whatnot. So then we get it folded back up. I'll probably pull one of the wing cylinders off, and have to do some measuring. I wonder what the odds are, because unfortunately, you look in the parts book for this, all of the cylinders are listed individually. It's not like they have a dot diagram of the frame and then every cylinder in location, so you can just click on which cylinder's which. But I'm wondering what the odds are just by looking at them, and we can measure to find out that the rotation cylinders and the lift cylinders are identical. And even if they're different lengths, if they're the same diameter, all I need to do is get one cylinder off, get all the seals for it, and then, you know, wham bam thank you Sam, we just get 4 seal kits, and we got seal kits to do 4 cylinders. So anyway, I'm gonna give her another going over now that I got her sitting on the ground, and we'll come back to you. All right, so I did some more looking. The row units actually seem to be in fairly good shape, other than they're missing those little extension pieces, which I don't know why they're missing, but it seems like that'd be kind of important. But most of the vast majority of the work on this thing is gonna be to the fertilizer pump. The manifold has a nice little pinhole in it. I couldn't figure out why it was leaking, and then I knocked some rust off, and sure as shit, there's a pinhole. These I don't even know what you call them, bulkheads. They got little tubes welded, supposed to be welded in them, and you got your squeeze hose on one side, then your hose going to the coulter on the other. Well, this one's all rusted out, rotted off. This here sprocket, I don't even know how the hell you do that to a sprocket, unless it was, I bet I do know. I bet that thing was either on this pump or on another one, and I bet it was flipped around so that this one was on the outside, and I bet it was stuck, and I bet they got on it with a 2-jaw puller and bent the shit out of it. Luckily it's loose on this one, but so gonna have to get some fertilizer pump parts. Hopefully I can come up with some. Otherwise these won't be that hard to make. The manifold, I guess, by all rights, wouldn't be that hard to get a piece of tubing and then just weld your ports, or weld tubing into it and make a manifold. That wouldn't be that bad if I can't come up with one. Because John Blue's still in business. I just don't know how well they support these older pumps. But looks like I say, the vast majority of what needs to be done to this is probably going to be to the fertilizer system. So, and hydraulic hoses, because I keep finding hydraulic hoses that are sketchy. And at some point, I will probably look at putting see, that's the monitor. Is there a joint somewhere in here for the fold box? Because you can buy new monitor and fold box pigtails from through Shoop. because apparently at some point the fold box harness, this guy right here, must have got caught up in the pivot or something or other, and I'm guessing that they cut it in half or some shit and it's all spliced together in there. I'm guessing. I haven't been brave enough to take tape off and look. But I might look at putting new, because you can, like I say, you can buy brand new pigtails. I might look at doing that too. Well, obviously it won't be this year. This year we're just trying to get the damn thing to plant. But anyway, we're gonna start doing some work. I got the hoses loose off the fertilizer tanks. We're gonna, in order to facilitate making it easier to narrow this thing up, I'm gonna pull the fertilizer tanks off, and we'll get all these no-till coulters off of here. So fertilizer tanks first. Okay, left side's all stripped. I got the tank off of this side. Now, I found out in order to get, and I guess I should have noticed before, but in order to get the U-bolts off for the tank, you have to get the no-till coulters off. I don't know why they didn't move the tank down one more set of bolts here, and then the U-bolts wouldn't be in the middle of the row unit, and everything would fit, because you just have them here and here. I don't know what they were thinking, but anyway, the way they put it together, you got to do that. And then in order to get the ones off the top for the no-till coulters, you got to pull the manifold off, which is as simple as you take this hose clamp loose, because there's a frame clamp right here, and then you take two screws out right there where that last T is, or I guess it's a Y, and then you should sit you there. That joint down there was a little, when I did the other side, it was a little sticky. Although I did the other side in two pieces, and I figured I'll do this side one piece because it might be easier, and I was right, it's easier. But you slide the manifold off. and then that'll let you get all your U-bolts off. All right, now the shitty part is the way they made these no-till coulters, you can't get impact on any of the nuts because there's 2 U-bolts, 4 nuts. You can't get impact on any of them. And whoever, or well, it must have been Sasquatch put these things on here because they got the U-bolts pulled so damn tight. I went through and took all the nuts off the back first because you can only get to the front ones with a wrench, and trying to bust them loose sucks. But you take the nuts off the back, and everything relaxes so much that when the nuts come to the end of the threads, they ping off. That's how tight these damn things are. There was no need, no reason for them to be that tight. Even if I had a ratchet wrench, it wouldn't do any good because there's not enough room to get the head of a ratchet wrench in there. Locked up. Alrighty, well, sliding row units, everything down doesn't look like nearly as much of a pain in the ass once you get all that stuff off. Now it's only U-bolts on there for the row units and for the lift wheels, so should go fairly easily from here on out. Might have to move the fertilizer pump as well. Looking at it, possibly. Probably gonna have to because I bet the main lift wheel now is probably gonna fall right about here. I bet that thing's gotta be fun to get out of there. It's like you got U-bolts here. Oh, I bet you gotta take the pump loose, and I bet these brackets spin sideways and come out. I bet that's how that works. Those brackets have been modificated because that pump came off of a 5100 anyhow, so. And whoever modificated them was kind of what the hell? Why? Well, that's not right. That's not supposed to be. I don't know. We gotta quit looking at stuff. Just gotta make it plant for now. We'll worry about making it better later. Just gotta make it plant. I gotta keep telling myself that. Fix all shit that actually needs fixing. We'll worry about making it the way I want, or the way I like it later. Just make it plant. Gotta make it plant. So anyway, I think I've reached my stopping point for the day. I gotta go down and stir up burn piles again. So I'm gonna fold this thing up and get unhooked, get everything put away, and call her a day. So I guess that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.